All right, so now I'm going to go through the production of Want You and just go track by track, go over some of the mixing of all the elements, and we'll just go over the instruments for now, and then eventually we'll get onto the vocals. So this is my session for Want You, and you can see at the top I have some reference tracks. This one is a DJ Snake, A Different Way. This one is Particula, Major Lazer. Just reference tracks to listen to the structure of the song, and you can see I have these markers set, intro, verse, for my song currently, and I always group a lot of my elements, so you can see I have drums, sidechain, FX, and vocal group. Sidechain is, I tend to sidechain a lot of the instruments with the kick, and I put those all into a group. So let's just go track by track. For the drums, this is just a snare build. I have some reverb, I have some EQ8. This is another build underneath. And that is the chorus part building up into the drop, and also this clap. So I don't have any plugins on these. And then the next track is this percussion for the drop. So the next track I have is a tom fill. There. That's going into the drop. The next one I have are some hi-hats. Which looks like I added some more hi-hats in the second pre-chorus. I will no longer feel like the broken-hearted. Better, strong. Just have some EQ in here, very hard cut around 10K, just to probably bring down some of the, there's a lot of highs up in here. Okay, the next track looks like some rim stuff I didn't use. And this is just the rim that I used right here. Layered it with this rim. Looks like I just have an EQ on here and nothing on this one. So together. This is in the pre-chorus. This makes everything alright. I will no longer feel like the broken-hearted. So that first verse I don't have it, and then I added in the pre-chorus. Second verse I added in, and the second pre-chorus I have it in again. Next one is the kick. So I'm rolling off a lot of lows in the verse, and see this right here is automated. So I automate this low cut during the drop. I have a C6. I believe I used a preset house kick preset. During the second part of the drop, I have this reggaeton tom kick. Gives this punchy boom sound. And I have this on top as well. That is a reverse snare sound I use as part of the transition into the drop. This right here is I call it a top loop. It's going to be some hi-hat stuff. I have it in the pre-chorus, the drop, and in the bridge. I will no longer feel like the broken-hearted. Next I have a bongo loop, and I put this in the second drop just to make it a little bit different. And then I have it in the bridge and then also the third chorus at the very end. So that's it with that other top loop. This is rando percussion because just random percussion things right there. So if we look down here, we can see it. This is called a vibroslap. Right here. Right here is a wood block. Right here, and I just have this in a drum rack, and I have some reverb on all these percussion. That's a timbali. Hit. So let's go ahead and hear all the drums together. So in the first verse I have the kick, pre-chorus, I'm adding in some more elements. For the part before the drop. I have the build, and then the drop. Okay. Bridge. Very similar to the drop. I have some bongos in there. And that last hook, I have everything from the drop, all the elements. So let's go now into the sidechain. The sidechain group is what I have all my instruments in. And so I do a lot of, I don't do a lot, but I always process the buses. I bus everything or group them, and I'll process them with a compressor and an EQ usually before I run them into the master. So the sidechain, it's sidechained. And I'm using Kickstart to sidechain. And I have the mix at 24, so it's not taking the whole thing out. And Kickstart is a nice sidechain plugin if you have a track that's like 4 on the floor, because it just takes out you can select quarter, 1/2, 1/8 notes. And then in the verse, I have a different sidechain going on, so I just have the compressor because I want something a little bit lighter than using Kickstart. So this first instrument is a guitar sound, and it looks like I have guitar rig, some little altar boy, some EQ8. This is a delay right here and some reverb. And that's just a bass sound. I can love who I want, I don't need a reason, love. That I add in during that drop part, and then I have a distorted guitar sound. It's very rough sounding, but in the mix it sounds pretty cool. And During the second part of the drop, I add in this toy pluck noise. Which is the same arpeggio that I'm doing in the pre-chorus with this guitar sound. So next I have piano. And you can hear a bit of the sidechain going on there. On this piano, I have quite a bit of processing on it to make it sound dirty. So that's what it sounds like dry, and then with all the effects. And so this right here, I have it automated because it's the introduction. So I'm bringing in the piano, fading it in, fading in the highs. And then once the verse starts, I have a little bit of a wider piano sound to go on top of that muffled piano just to give it a little bit more width. And so these are the same chords as the guitar. And so that's the main progression of the song that basically repeats the whole song. And here's the guitar. The guitar is just single notes. I recorded single notes and then stacked them to make it sound like I was playing chords, just bar chords, to get it really clean sounding. And on each of these tracks, all I have is just a guitar rig, and I have a little bit of reverb, and then on this I send them to a bus, and I have a compressor, a reverb, and delay. And under this I have the bass for the drop, and I have the bass sent to a bus as well, which I'm using some processing. And on here I have, I'm using some mid-side mode EQ and a VC160. This is from Native Instruments. It's a good compressor for bass. And individually, I have a decapitator on here and some EQ. I'm rolling off some of the lows. Decapitator on here, decapitator. Lots of good decapitators. And I don't have any bass until the drop, which is pretty interesting, and until the second pre-chorus. So that's another way to fill in the second pre-chorus. I don't put in any bass. It looks like I had bass and then I took it out just to make it a little bit different, so that it has a bigger impact whenever you first hear the drop. So there's no bass, and then when you hear the drop you have more bass, and then once it comes in, it comes back in the pre-chorus. So this right here is the lead melody for that drop. I had a silent synth, and then this looks like a vocal chop that I found somewhere and edited. So all three of those together. So you can hear how layering it with those three elements makes it sound a lot bigger and different than just having a synth. So on this vocal chop, I have this Valhalla vintage verb. I use this all the time. I have some overdrive, that reverb, and some EQ and compression. So this right here is another synth that I pulled from Contact, and it's an arpeggio. That happens during the chorus drop part. I can love who I want, I don't need a reason, love who I want. There's that lead part during the drop. So now the effects, I create an effects group or a bus where I have all the crashes, different risers, and I use these to create transitions between the sections. So right there, that was a reversed crash into a 808 crash, going from the verse to the pre-chorus. Makes everything all right. And then we have a lot more effects going on during the chorus part where everything kind of drops out and then it rises into the drop. I can love who I want, I don't need a reason. Love who I want, love who I want, I want you. I can love who I want, I don't need a reason. Want you. So don't have much on here. This is just a effects riser, a little bit of EQ. This is a reversed vocal, which I didn't end up using. A pop ride, and reverse crash, and that's it. And so, if we just play the track without the vocals, this is how I structured everything just from that chord progression with the guitar. So everything really just stemmed from that chord progression, and so I went through everything and showed you how I built it out, the track out, and created different sections, marked them with these markers. And so once you have a track idea, then you can go ahead and get the songwriting done. So that's what I'm going to show you next.